Hello and welcome to the South Australian Government's RTO information session on future market directions and opportunities in South Australia. Before we start, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're coming to you today from the traditional lands for the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. We also pay respects to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. So my name is Jason Downs. I'm your MC for this morning. Welcome and thanks for joining us. I believe we have over 200 people joining us today. Today's information session, we have a session outline for you. So today's information session is designed to offer a state of the market style briefing about the evolving vet landscape, the broad range of delivery opportunities on offer, timely insights into new and emerging initiatives, including Job Trainer, and a new way the department is seeking to engage with the vet market. Shortly, you'll hear from our Chief Executive Director, You'll hear from Adam Reid, who is our Chief Executive for the Department of Innovation and Skills, Madeline Richardson, who is our Executive Director for Skills and Workforce Capability, and Chris Zielinski, who is the Director for Skills, Planning and Purchasing. Throughout the session today, you'll have the opportunity to submit questions via Slido, and you'll hear more about that shortly. So without further ado from me, I'm going to now hand over to our Chief Executive, Adam Reid, for the Department of Innovation and Skills. Adam.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you everyone joining us online. I'd also like to acknowledge that the lands we're on today are the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. I'd also like to acknowledge all of you joining us online today and the contribution you make to providing the skills for the South Australian economy, and I know your time is extremely valuable, so really appreciate you taking time out of your business this morning to join us for this information session, and probably even more so in the current environment, which we know has been so challenging for so many businesses and so many individuals. And while we're extremely fortunate in South Australia to have no active cases of COVID-19 in South Australia at the moment, we do know that the impact on our economy is going to be large, and we do know it's also going to take some time to recover. So we heard earlier this week the Australian GDP fell by 7 percentage points in the June quarter, so it's now 6.3% lower than the same time last year, and in South Australia, state final demand fell by 5.8%. And so it is now 6.7 percentage points lower than the same time last year. Add to that, we know there are around 55,000 young people aged between 17 and 24 that are currently not engaged in either study or work, and that is an increase of 10,000 greater than the same time last year. And with youth unemployment forecast to peak at around 19%, there is a significant risk for that cohort that they become disengaged. We also know that South Australia is a low-skilled economy, with around 40% of our population not holding post-secondary qualifications. So skills matter, and increasingly so, with the shift towards higher skilled occupations. Professional and technical qualifications are increasingly important in securing our state's economic growth. In a recent address to the Press Club, the Prime Minister stated many potential students default to the university system, even if their career could be best enhanced through vocational education. I want those trade and skills jobs to be aspired to, not looked down upon or seen as a second best option. it is a first option. And so both the Commonwealth and the state government recognise the role that skills will play in our economic recovery. And so you'll hear a little bit further later this morning on the additional funding that has been allocated so that people looking for work can reskill and upskill for in-demand jobs, and school leavers can be provided with a pathway to career options, and also ensure that businesses get access to the skills that they need for their growth and sustainment. And as we have an eye to future growth, we also recognise that for many parts of our economy, it's actually about stability. So we need to stabilise before we can rebuild, and that means we also need to focus on retention. So keeping what we already have, keeping apprentices connected to employers, keeping training providers stable so that they can continue to provide the training and the skills pathways for young people and displaced workers. And we recognise the extremely important role that our public training provider plays in our system, but we absolutely need to strengthen our skills system through continued investment in non-government training providers to increase our market depth, diversity and choice for individuals. So we continue to focus on pathways for school leavers to undertake VET while still in school, and then to continue that training post-school. And technology is impacting. So many licensed trades currently take around 4 years to complete, and we know that within that time frame technology has moved on, the needs of business has also evolved, and so we need to ensure that aligning our investment in the supply of skills to demand and emerging needs is actually critical to keeping pace with industry need. So maintaining those strong partnerships with industry is really important. And there is also opportunities for innovation in the skills system. There are opportunities to develop new training products, opportunities for new delivery methods that are relevant, fit for purpose and quick to market. For example, micro-credentials that can upskill existing staff or put young people on a path to employment that can be stacked or work alongside other qualifications. And I think South Australia is really well placed to embrace flexible, new delivery approaches. So our vision for technical and professional education is a VET market with increased contestability, increased market depth, innovative product and delivery methods, and increased choice and access for students. And all of that, obviously, is underpinned by quality. So by working together to build the capability and capacity of our VET system and the Australian VET market, we'll be able to meet current and future needs of our industry and deliver the skills required for economic growth. So again, thank you very much for taking your time out of your business this morning to join us for this information session. And I will hand back to Jason to introduce the next speaker and get into the presentations.
Okay, thanks Adam, and thank you for making time to join us this morning and share your insights. As I mentioned in the opening comments, we're going to use Slido today to capture your questions. So on the screen now is some information for you to take down. If you go to the www.slido website and join through the hashtag SA Market Directions, you can start dropping in your questions that you may have for the panel coming up after some presentations. So please take the opportunity to send them through, and if you see a question on there that impresses you, please click the vote and we will get to those questions based on hierarchy. So I'm now going to hand over to our Executive Director, Madeline Richardson, who is the ED for Skills and Workforce Capability. Madeline.
Hi everybody, thank you so much Jace, thank you very much Adam for your time and address this morning. Hi to everybody connecting online as well, grateful for your time this morning. Also pay my respects to the Kaurna people. Beautiful spring days like this remind us of the privilege we have to live in a beautiful state. So in my time with you today, I just wanted to take the opportunity on sort of taking stock, reflecting on where we are, looking at the state of the market and some key policy drivers. Also to look at some of the emerging opportunities in the vet space, speaking in a bit more detail about vet commissioning and what this means. And I also want to work through our continued commitment to work in partnership with the sector and some of those strategic market directions and some of the how, so some of the framework in support of this. Okay, so kicking things off with market composition. Starting with the key facts here, we have NCVR tell us we have 68,000 government-funded students across our institutions, a significant amount of people in our communities who are reliant on vet and moving through vet to support their career aspirations. Also reflecting on our market composition, what we know is that there are around 100 training organisations operating as small businesses, plus TAFE as the public provider in our market. We know many small businesses across the state are facing economic challenges presented through COVID-19, but really importantly, what we are also seeing, particularly in the RTO space, is a lot of resilience being demonstrated as well in facing those challenges. In terms of the size and composition of our training market, we have seen some growth over the years to strengthen the position of training providers, but we are sitting around that 100 mark. What I've framed here is a majority and minority challenge. So what we know about our market as well is that the bulk of training and courses are delivered by 5 or less providers. And so what the consequence of that is, of course, is that it limits some of the diversity and depth in our market and presents some challenges for people looking to access courses and to really broaden what we can provide and to ensure that we can keep up with demand as well. There is strong demand for vet at a time when workforce needs skills more than ever, and we want to support people to transition, to upskill, to reach their aspirations. There is such a demand around what vet can provide, and Adam reflected on what the Prime Minister is talking about at the moment as to the significance of vet in our economy. In terms of regional access, there are some challenges here. We know that, again, the bulk of delivery is done in metropolitan areas. And so if you are in a region looking to access vet, you will face some challenges. We also know that despite innovation demonstrated in new delivery models, which is fantastic, many students in our regions still have to overcome barriers around travel and around access. And it also limits the ability of local economies in regions to respond and grow as well. Compliance, it's hard to talk about market composition without addressing compliance. It's a balance that we have to walk around a regulated system and ensuring quality as well. We know and we hear from you often that it is challenging to walk that fine balance as well. We also know that quality, trumps all at the end of the day. And so understanding this composition are part of our drivers for supporting a strong vet market characterised by access, choice and quality. And so looking at where we are as well, I think it is fair to say, and I'm sure you're experiencing this as well, that the spotlight is shining on vet at the moment, both locally and nationally. There is a strong recognition of the role of vet in developing and delivering industry-relevant training and upskilling people at pace as people look to vet to help them navigate economic challenges. We also know that the role and expectation of vet is echoed across governments and communities. People are looking to vet to get access to those skills quickly, those professional technical qualifications in areas of demand. Importantly, between 70 and 80% of people who are moving through vet who graduate also increase their employment outcomes, increase their employability or get a job, a really significant and strong report card for what vet offers and delivers. Skilling South Australia for us is a continued investment to support those pathways through apprenticeships and traineeships, and we have seen some nation-leading results through our investment and our partnership with you in delivering that as well. And through Skilling South Australia, providing some of those additional supports for training providers, for individuals, for GTOs, for employers, in overcoming barriers and investing in people to get to reach their career aspirations. We know nationally as well, the skills ministers are really focused on the VET reform roadmap. The Productivity Commission is working their way through their review of the national agreement as well, which highlights the need to improve quality, training product relevance, and looking at where we can bring that industry picture front of mind. We've also seen in response to COVID a number of skill sets and qualifications considered by the AISC in their emergency response. COVID Clean being a key example of a new skill set, accredited, available, and partnering with RTOs to ensure that is ready for the market. The National Skills Commission is also underway and have produced a number of important reports and insights, again reflecting the significance of understanding demand and the changing profile of that for investment and for activity in the RTO market. We are also talking to the National Skills Commission about Job Trainer and the focus on skills supported through that. And so unpacking Job Trainer a little bit further, we saw this week really exciting news with South Australia becoming the first state to sign on to Job Trainer to partner to deliver with the Commonwealth key requirements under our agreement. So Job Trainer is absolutely part of the skills-led economic recovery. It is significant. $53.5 million from the state government and $34.5 million invested from the Australian government. Significant investment supporting more access to training places. Under Job Trainer, we are targeting 15,000 training places through qualifications and a mix of short courses as well at low cost, with a focus on young people and job seekers. It's clearly in response to what we are seeing in our economy with the challenges of COVID, but again speaks to the centrality of VET in supporting people. We are incredibly keen to work with you and all RTOs to support access to those school leavers and job seekers. And we are also really focused on those areas that are in high demand, where we are challenged with some shortages, and also where there are key industries that are central to South Australia's growth as well. So it includes the care sector, cybersecurity, defence, creative sectors, just to name a few as to where we'll be looking to partner with you and with industry to understand those demands and ensure Job Trainer can meet those needs. We also want to better understand where support is needed at those key points of transition as well. We've seen through Skilling South Australia the power of removing some roadblocks and supporting people to get where they want to go, and to partnering with you and with industry to understand that. We want to see those transitions from learning to earning and to further study as well. I like to think about it as a series of stepping stones. What we are trying to do is to support people move through VET and to get where they want to go across a number of stepping stones, and where we, through partnership and investment, can unlock that ability as well. We'll continue to be guided by that quality of VET and the currency of what's on offer. We'll be in touch in the coming weeks around Job Trainer, what that means for you and how we can partner together. Taking a further look at our landscape and building on some of Adam's reflections as well, what you see here is a little bit of a summary, I think, of what are some of the key steps in continuing to build that capability and capacity. So stabilisation is really key, that focus on retention and participation. We want to see people having those opportunities to increase their skill levels, whether it's to re-engage or whether it's to mobilise as well. And it's ensuring that that focus on participation and uplift is really important. To this phase, I would also think about resilience as part of our focus too. Rebuild and recovery is all about ensuring our skills market continues to increase the depth and capacity to meet demand. Currency, credibility, value, perception all come into focus here as well. We like to think about our skills as an entire ecosystem, and we have to get all of those components right and working in harmony, whether it's stimulating demand, whether it's working with employers or partnering with you. We also recognise that continued investment in programs like building capability also are a kind of a foundation in this phase too. Keeping looking ahead around our future state is really focused on servicing and meeting that economic need. Ensuring that pipeline of talent is available to meet emerging needs can't happen without a strong and resilient and diversified market. It will come through partnerships. We also know the system can be, and I sometimes revolt at that word system because I don't think it does credit to the complexity and the intricacy and the ecosystem nature of what we're dealing with, but what I'm trying to get at is that faster and responsiveness to changing economic needs is where our focus needs to be. That blend of innovation and skills, we wear that as a bit of a badge of honour in our department. To think about how those two things need to connect really deeply is also key to our success. So we will work with RTOs to understand capability and capacity, to move into new market segments, to increase delivery where we know some gaps are emerging or may emerge, to build that depth and diversity, and to provide clear opportunities for RTOs to grow their business in skill areas where the government is also looking to increase its investment. And so that really brings me to talking about vet commissioning. And so what is vet commissioning, you ask? Well, I would describe it as a new approach to buying training and related services. It really builds on our contestable approach and contestable mechanisms, including the subsidised training list, which you are no doubt very familiar with. Commissioning is informed by proactive market sounding and engagement to better understand and build vet market capability and capacity to meet the state's needs. It's an opportunity to work together to diversify our market. Partnership is absolutely fundamental, and we know we are building on really strong foundations. So why vet commissioning? You'll see on the slide some of the stated objectives here. What we know is that any change to the profile of our market needs to maintain stability and confidence. This is part of why we are aiming to work together through proactive market sounding and finding ways that we can improve that capacity, support our future market directions, which include innovation, speed to market, as we've talked about, the currency of our offer to individuals, to employers who are reliant on vet, increasing access and choice, and ensuring value for money. The significant investment in vet is something we take incredibly seriously. Taxpayers allow us to do that. That creates a responsibility and a shared responsibility we have to ensure there's value for money, and we balance our investment across the vet sector to do so and to demonstrate that. Chris will touch on in a little bit more detail what we'll be doing to roll out vet commissioning in a staged approach, and it's really asking all providers, TAFE as our public provider and non-government training providers, to engage, to identify if there's capacity to do more. What are you looking to do to pivot your business? Where could you diversify? Or where is there opportunities to transition out of historic areas where we're seeing market development and capacity in other places? We're trying to bring everybody to the table through vet commissioning. And so thinking also about how we'll work differently. So if we've talked a little bit about the what and the why, let's touch on the how. So there's a summary here on the slide that I think is a representation of the purchase cycle. And you'll see that emphasis on proactive engagement and ensuring there are clear market signals as well. So stepping through this, so based on industry intelligence, we'll identify purchase priorities. Shorthand, what we want to invest in, what we want to purchase, what we want to buy. Through regular information sessions such as today, we're sharing information so you're really clear about purchasing objectives and support for your business. We'll be asking RTOs about their capability and capacity, demand opportunities or barriers to expanding as well, or diversifying. Through market sounding, we'll be working together to understand that capability and capacity and ensuring that we can meet and manage the supply that we know is in demand. We are also investing in the market using a partnership approach and looking at sustainability as a key measure as we move through this purchase cycle as well. We want to understand and monitor market performance in a deeper way and use that evidence base to build our approach and the roadmap for vet commissioning as well. So we encourage you to connect and work with us, or continue to, hopefully, to develop and implement this new approach over the coming months and in the longer term as well. And our responsibility and our commitment is to keep you really informed and to keep working in partnership. So look, thank you so much for your time today. I know everyone's got no doubt a busy Friday, but hopefully that's given a little bit of insight into the shape of our market, where some of our commitments are and the key focus and drivers, and also talked about how we are looking to work together with a focus on vet commissioning. So thank you so much. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Matt. Wow. Okay, thank you, Madeline. That was a lot to take in, and I'm sure that has generated a lot of questions from you. So just a reminder that you can go to Slido. We've got a slide up there for you to have a look at and start putting your questions in. Vote for the ones that you think are worthwhile coming up the list in terms of hierarchy. I'm now going to introduce and hand over to Chris Zielinski, who is the Director for Skills Planning and Purchasing. Chris, over to you.
Before I begin, I just want to acknowledge that I meet or stand on the land of the Kaurna people today and pay my respects to elders past and present. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today, and I really focus on the opportunities that are available for RTO diversification and growth, but I want to acknowledge also that the current environment, in particular as a result of COVID, but the broader economic environment is a challenge for many RTOs. But I'm hoping that you will see some opportunities in what I talk about today that we can work together on. I guess as Director for the skills investment and planning process, I get the opportunity to meet and talk with RTO representatives fairly regularly. And I guess in reflecting on those conversations, I'm mindful that we can do better to strengthen how we engage with RTOs, and I'm hoping that you'll hear today that that's a strong change, that sort of engagement and connection and partnership is really where we need to focus. I'm very excited about the market building and engagement opportunities that the vet commissioning approach will provide. As mentioned, stronger partnerships and an enhanced understanding of RTO capacity and capability will significantly strengthen our ability to target our investment and align effort to build a sustainable training system. I'm going to talk through today in a bit more detail, as Madeline mentioned, about the vet commissioning and the approach that we're taking to it. And I'll also highlight, I guess, some of the existing initiatives that are available for RTOs to engage in. So as Madeline outlined, vet commissioning, first and foremost, is about how we're purchasing skills. Its very clear objective is around increased choice and access. We need to train more in more courses statewide. One of the most critical features of commissioning is the approach that embeds market engagement to test capacity and capability. From that, we can develop strategies to utilise that capacity and capability where it exists, or to build it where it doesn't. Vet commissioning, as Madeline mentioned, sits alongside our existing purchase mechanisms, supporting contestability through the subsidised training list and the range of other project-based initiatives we have. So, tranche one, implementation. The initial focus of vet commissioning is on courses where there are market depth. We've assessed that to be those courses where there are 5 or more active providers in a market segment. The intent is to identify those courses and communicate it through tranches of activity. Shortly, DIS will consult on the first tranche of publicly subsidised courses where there is market depth to sound out the capacity and capability in the market to deliver. The first tranche will be focusing on courses in business and management, human and social welfare, and children's services, and these will be published on our website shortly. As mentioned in my previous slide, commissioning involves active engagement. and development of training providers in the market. It's critical to the commissioning approach. The first part of the market sounding process will include a capacity and capability survey and one-on-one and focus groups aimed at gathering or providing detailed material to inform purchase planning and lead towards, in particular, the release of the next STL. From this information that we gather, we'll develop an outcomes report, and that will be presented at one of the next RTO information sessions. This market sounding will cover the courses identified, areas of market depth, and canvas skill sets, particularly in the human and social welfare and children's services area, to understand market capacity and capability and how that can increase support activity. It will also capture your perceptions of opportunities and demand in other market segments. We will be seeking to build a picture of willingness, perception, business confidence and sentiment, the challenges and potential solutions, the market gaps and risk and barriers, and also potential new entrants to the market. Commissioning and the associated market testing will become a core feature of our annual planning cycle. So a bit more detail on commissioning. As part of implementing the commissioning approach, DIS is reshaping the way RTOs can partner with government. So we have designed an MOU approach to formalise the partnership to build sector capability around each tranche. This means that RTOs can express interest in working to deliver in the tranche, and we'll operationalise that approach through a Meet the Buyer session where we can share information and unpack what's available. This offers a mechanism for DIS to get an understanding of the volume to guide our investment. So what is the capacity of the market? However, this is not an opt-in or opt-out proposition. RTOs with the courses on scope can increase their delivery once the STL is effective without engagement with DIS. There is absolutely no requirement for RTOs to commit upfront to deliver. As many of you would be aware, through the STL, RTOs can continue to plan and deliver through current mechanisms, and they will not be disadvantaged. This dual track approach acknowledges, I guess, the lead time that RTOs may need to gear up to deliver more, and also go through the business processes that you need to do your due diligence, understand resource impacts, and your own business planning cycles. So we're providing the opportunity to support providers through that, but also for providers to undertake their normal business. We are looking to build a building capability concierge approach to support this process. The intent there is that there are clear and regular points of contact within the department. We will support and facilitate connections to information and support so that we can work together and partner. So that was a bit of an overview of vet commissioning. I thought it would be useful now just to go through some of the existing initiatives that are available. I'll set a bit of context and I might focus in specifically on a couple of the initiatives just to highlight the opportunities. So as mentioned previously, vet commissioning sits alongside the range of processes, I guess, in our existing purchase. And that supports around $300 million annually to purchase skills across the sector. There are a range of existing initiatives that for RTOs to sustainably grow their business. These initiatives, it's really important to note that these initiatives are not mutually exclusive. We encourage RTOs to utilise multiple avenues and initiatives as part of their business model. I thought I would take the opportunity, as mentioned, just to highlight a couple of the opportunities in here, in particular the subsidised training list, which some of you would have heard from me before about, building capability the training priorities list projects, which will be online soon, and Vet for Schools opportunities. So I'm conscious around the subsidised training list that I've presented on it before, and I think there is also a video that will be online that just outlines the key elements of the most recent release of the subsidised training list, but I'll cover some of them quickly again today just to recap. So I do want to acknowledge that the subsidised training list is a fairly static document, but it does provide significant opportunity. So through STL 6.0, which became effective 1 July, there was around 780 courses with about 32 additional courses. It is worth noting that if these courses are on your ASQA scope, you are contracted with DIS, you are able to access subsidies for those courses. Within the STL, there are around 590 courses available through the Subsidised Traineeship and Apprenticeship List, the STAL, which underpin training contract arrangements. Just over 100 courses that are available both on the training priority list, the TPL and the STAL, and around 90 available outside of training contract on the training priorities list. We have recently introduced a number of other changes supporting the STL to support access and flexibility and increased opportunities. In particular, we've commenced support for skill sets through the STL. It's been we've dipped our toes in on that front initially. The focus is on nationally accredited skill sets. We will continue to progressively add skill sets as intelligence comes available from industry, but noting there's also conversations with the Commonwealth around job trainer, and as that develops, that will influence what skill sets are made available. We've also moved to managed courses, which is replacing the old quota approach. It's a far more streamlined approach. Providers get an upfront allocation. There's no need to apply, so there's reduced costs and red tape. And should providers come up to that limit, then there's a simple request to the department to increase or consider additional places. We've also put in place an application process for changing course conditions. This was primarily an acknowledgement of the impacts of COVID. We have broadened it out in acknowledgement of the economic conditions. So I encourage you to look online to see that process if there's a strong industry support for delivering courses outside of training contract arrangements. But just noting the course does need to be currently on the stall, and then we'll consider that with the advice making it available outside of training contract arrangements. There is also the opportunity to add a course to the STL. This remains in place. It's an ongoing option for RTOs. I also want to take the opportunity just to encourage providers let them know and remind people about the subsidy price review process. It is in place. It's available on an ongoing basis. It is important that you access the subsidy review process if it's a concern for your organisation. Training priority list projects. I'll just go through quickly. They will become available soon. They are specifically designed to address emerging skill needs at a workforce, regional level in particular. There are 4 streams within training priority list projects. There's the workforce stream, focusing on, workforce development at the sector and supply chain level. Regional stream, looking at, regional needs that aren't currently addressed by the STL. Pathways, supporting pathways for people to train to get into jobs. And a strategic option where we can commission, the department can commission particular objectives. I'll just talk through quickly about the building capability. Many of you will be familiar from the last forum. We have pivoted this year as a result of COVID, so we've moved a lot of the forums online. In the professional learning front, we've had good response, and we will look to release more opportunities over the course of the year. You'll receive information about professional development opportunities as they become available through our website. We've also pivoted building capability projects, expanding the guidelines, and in particular relating to commissioning. It's a good opportunity to put projects forward to build capability and capacity. Again, strongly encourage you to look at the details on our website. And just finally, because I'm getting the giddy up, the hurry up, just want to touch on Vet for School students. So many of you will be aware of the Vet for School students policy. There are three main areas that we are focused on within DIS. The first is the funded course list. So we are working through with industry skills councils and also the Department for Education about those courses. They will be available on the subsidised training list once they are confirmed, and new guidelines will be released on our website to support those courses. The courses will also be documented in the flexible industry pathways, which are the FIPs, and I know that the Department for Education has been running a number of webinars about the FIPs and further developments in the Vet for School policy implementation. VETRO, so we're currently trialling VETRO, which for many of you will be familiar with the upfront assessment of need. It is a version of that for school enrolled students, provides an opportunity as an evidence base for RTOs to determine suitability for students to courses, and then how we can best partner with schools around foundation skills, SCAPs and or learner support services. VETRO will replace the TGS approach to accessing subsidised training. And then just finally, all of the Vet for Schools implementation needs to be supported by capability building. The department, working closely with the Department for Education, will put out capability building, a calendar of capability building initiatives to help support implementation, which is due for semester 1, 2022. And on that note, I will finish up. Thank you again for your time today.
Okay, thanks, Chris, and welcome back. So we're going to jump straight into Slido questions because we don't have a lot of time left. For those that have missed the direction, you can go to Slido. I think we've got the slide up now for you to have a look at, and enter the password #marketdirections. Drop your questions in. I've been informed that we have 201 people watching us today. 79 people have registered through Slido, and we have over 20 questions. So Chris and Madeline, no pressure. We're going to do rapid fire, and my instruction to both of you is to keep your questions short and succinct. Any questions that we don't get to today will be formed as part of an FAQ and dropped onto the website so that responses can be found there. So Madeline, Chris, thanks for joining us. Just one other note, for people that have had issues reading the slides or have missed important key information, all of today's content will be uploaded onto the website straight after this session, and you can watch it again, send the link to your colleagues, and it's also going to be available on the website and YouTube page. So let's jump straight into the questions. The question with the highest voting to point, will the ASQ be at the table for vet commissioning? Is that Madeline?
Sure. So will ASQA be at the table for vet commissioning? So my initial response to that is, as you've heard from myself and Chris when we're talking about vet commissioning, part of it is working with you to understand not only where there's opportunities, but where there may be barriers or issues. And if in your feedback there are insights or additional information about your experiences with ASQA or particular barriers, that gives us the evidence-based, the information to be able to engage ASQA further. I think we would all know in a regulated system, ASQA will always have a seat at the table. However, building a strong evidence base and your intel and insights gives us more to engage with them on, and to say we are undertaking an evidence-based, insight-driven approach through market sounding, through vet commissioning, with those goals around growth and diversification, to brief ASQA on that and to pass on your feedback directly is an opportunity through vet commissioning.
Thanks, Matt. The next question here is, will there be funding options for skill sets or short courses that target smaller skill needs than a full qualification?
So just in general, or as a result of other initiatives?
Look, you're
In
questioning the
general-
question. Come on, rapid fire round, Chris.
Will there be opportunities? So the intent to skill sets, there's currently through, I'm going to be quick, we're stepping into nationally accredited skill sets initially. We do offer a range of project options to customise skill clusters or shorter form training, micro-credentials, particularly through Skilling South Australia. Also will be available through TPL projects. So there will be opportunities. We do want to hear from you, and particularly as Job Trainer rolls out, would like to get more advice from industry about what's appropriate for skilling.
Thanks, Chris. Great. So will skill sets that are subsidised affect an individual's eligibility to access funding for whole qualifications?
So the current position on skill sets is that it's an upskilling or reskilling focus. At present, there is, I think, one or two, but that might change as a result of Job Trainer. It doesn't impact on an individual's entitlement.
Great, thank you. Well done on the short responses.
Trying to.
For those that have missed the direction, I believe there's a slide on your screen that you can go to. Keep them coming, and please make them as clear as possible for our panel to interpret. Madeline, I think the next one is for you. Over what time frame does the $88 million and the 15,000 places cover?
Yeah, sure. So Job Trainer, in response to, in particular, COVID-19, does have a 12-month focus. So we are absolutely working, again, needing to work in partnership to ensure that that 15,000 aim or goal, their enrolments over the next 12 months. So we have a commitment and dedication to do that. That's part of the aspiration around Job Trainer is in direct response to the issues that we are facing right now. So it is, it is important that there's early clarity for you guys and completely understand that investment is, can be direct to market as soon as possible. And really importantly, the focus through Job Trainer is around that mix of qualifications and skill sets at low cost.
Thanks, mate. Next question, I think again is for you, Madeline. Will vet commissioning replace or be in addition to head agreements with DIS?
Replace or be in addition? I think, well, in every instance, I think we try to make sure we leverage off what we have in place. Do you want to touch on what we might see through the EOI process or MOUs?
So still being worked through. I would envisage the head agreement or the current FAA would remain in place, and targeting of, growth opportunities for increased skilling will be part of the current contract structure.
Thank you. Next question. Why are demographics other than young people, school leavers, not being targeted? Job seekers, will this be accessible to older folk and those in casual work?
So Job Trainer, the initial focus, as indicated through the Commonwealth, is, supporting those young people who are leaving school and then being confronted with, less opportunities in the labour market and workforce. So the initial focus is on the school leavers or young people and providing training opportunities for them, and also supporting those who have become unemployed recently and or may be impacted by changes to JobKeeper to upskill or reskill and move on to other opportunities. So that's the initial focus. The baseline funding and other investment we make across the system will support those other cohorts.
Great, thanks, Chris. Are part qualifications going to be available as part of vet commissioning?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Thanks, Madeline.
But again, this needs to be guided by your intel about what you're doing, where you're seeing demand, what you think is holding currency in who you support and work with. Talk to us about that balance of full quals, part quals, micro-credentials, skill clusters. Talk to us about what's on your menu that's is making an impact and a difference in your market. But yeah, it's on the table.
Thank you. So next question is, okay, this one's jumped up the ladder. Thanks for voting on it. Will funding be open to interstate-based RTOs And or will local RTOs be given a boosted rating?
So I'm thinking this relates to vet commissioning, and it's a fair question, and one that I can understand is front of mind. So we've talked about the challenges of the characteristics of our market, right? However, we need to go through a process to ensure quality is front of mind as we work through that. So we know there's lots of lessons to learn from the past here. We want a stable and resilient market where there's lots of confidence in what we're doing. So again, basing this around market sounding is part of our guide and our evidence. We to ensure that we're making decisions based on quality delivery. We may find out that there are gaps in the market that may need to be serviced differently. That may emerge, right, which will require us to consider other options. But none of this is going to happen in a vacuum. None of this is going to happen without you seeing some of the evidence and insights as they're unfolding, and based on what you tell us as well. So I think it's one to watch. It's one to consider as we build the evidence and insights. However, our guiding compass here is always quality, and ensuring that if that eventuates through what we're looking at, that we're incredibly mindful and considerate of the local market needs and of your capacity to grow. We don't want to see that undermined. We want to see the market really well serviced, and that stability and confidence remain in place.
Thanks, Mads. We have about 5 minutes left for some questions, so we'll keep going. Will there be any reviewed qualifications that are currently only able to be trained with subsidy through traineeships? Can we remove these roadblocks?
So as I indicated in my slides, there is an application process with support from, I guess, industry as well, that RTOs can apply to have courses that are currently on the subsidised traineeship apprenticeship list considered available through the training priorities list. So it can be for a specific period of time, or if there's an ongoing need, how that might be adjusted based on the evidence. So in short, yes.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, now, will the TAE, I'm assuming that's right, will the TAE qualification be subsidised to attract highly trained and skilled trainers, enabling RTOs to grow their capacity and capabilities?
Yes, it is currently, along with a range of skill sets to support the vet sector skilling needs.
Thank you. Re-vet commissioning, will there be any co-contribution requirements from business?
Look, I don't think that's in scope at the moment in terms of co-contribution from business. However, hopefully as people are hearing, what we are trying to do is make sure this is insight-driven and aligned with industry demand. One could argue industry makes a co-contribution through the employment of people that are serviced by your organisations as well. But look, it's not formally in scope.
Thanks, Matt. Good question here. Will we have a direct contact in the department to deal with?
Of course. Well, absolutely. I think you're looking at two. There are a couple others in the room. But perhaps what we could do, Jace, is in circulating those slides, make sure we give people the emails, the phone numbers of a couple of key contacts, whether that's vet commissioning, whether that's STL, whether that's building capability. Maybe we can make that available as part of the email out.
Great.
That's helpful.
I'm sure it will be, Madeline.
Great.
Thank you. When will application guidelines and process for applying for the 88 million and 15,000 places be in place?
Sure. Very soon, I think is my answer. Look, over the coming weeks, we are just really working with the National Skills Commission to refine some key elements around the skills and qualifications. But we would hope over the coming weeks we can come back to you with a bit more form and detail about how to engage, what that looks like, and breaking down that 15,000 target as well for you. We've got another RTO forum coming up in the next couple of weeks, so that gives us another window to keep talking to you as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Will DIS help open up worksite placements with all this extra activity?
I think it's a very good question, and one that we're really alive to and are hearing from you about some of the challenges COVID has definitely presented in ensuring that there's completions and placements. I think there's a couple levers we have, but also nationally there's an important conversation to be had about the composition of some training packages. So I would just encourage you to keep sharing with us the information, evidence about what it looks like at your end. We are certainly looking at what we can do to support you as training organisations and individuals to complete their training, whether that's trying to think a little bit more innovatively or understand what your business needs to do that. It's definitely front of mind. We are very alive to what that means and the increased pressure that is putting on you and students as well who want to complete their training and get on with their careers. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's...
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But yeah, if there's other examples, send them through. But we are working through that, and I've absolutely heard that issue.
Thank you. Next question here. Is it possible to release STL for a full 12 months?
Anything's possible, right? Look, it's been considered a number of times how we can reduce the release of the STL. We're just working through, I guess, the static versus the dynamic aspect, and noting that in the last few years, the sort of middle release has been very minor. It's been more of a routine with just replacement courses. So it is effectively an annual release. There's very few changes, but it is something that we are working through as well.
Great. I reckon we've got time for two very quick ones here. Are foundational employability skill sets Cert 1 to Cert 2 quals part of the 15,000 places? A lot of job seekers facing a long history of unemployment.
So live, as Madeline mentioned, it's a live discussion working through, I guess, with the National Skills Commission, who has a strong role here in supporting the rollout of Job Trainer around the courses and skill sets. So working through with them to land what the scope of those courses and skill sets will be.
Great, thank you. Is the 50+ million state funding for Job Trainer new money or repurposed money?
So that's a new commitment from this government to enable us to deliver under Job Trainer, a new commitment.
Thank you. Okay, who is going to be involved with the market capacity research and who is leading this process?
So we can, again, in the follow-up detail, provide key contact points in DIS, but what we are also doing through vet commissioning is ensure there's some independence and some partnerships to ensure it's done professionally with the experts in those fields. So you'll hear from us on that, but we'll also be engaging some experts to support that process.
Thanks, Madeline. Okay, we're powering through these questions. Thank you for short answers. If we want to improve outcomes for 18 to 24-year-olds and job seekers, most of whom start work as casuals, can we just unshackle all programs from traineeships? I've got a lot of votes there, so a bit of interest.
Look, I mean, can we unshackle? Look, I think we are wanting to make sure what we subsidise and support is always really responsive to demand. We know that obviously, traineeships and apprenticeships do have that really strong connection to employment outcomes and pathways. So my response to that would be we need to balance our investment.
Great, thank you. That's it.
Okay.
So we have 3 questions that we haven't got to. Well done. I don't know how many that was you answered, but that's very impressive. Actually, there's more questions coming through. We're going to leave Slido open so that you can continue to throw your questions into the mix, and they will be collated up later on in the day and responded to on the website. So thank you everyone for your fantastic questions today. This information has been useful for the department in terms of gauging some stakeholder feedback, so we're grateful for that. What I need to do is just inform you about what's coming up. So we've got a slide on the screen now. But before we do, thanks again, Madeline and Callan, for your time today. And the information.
Chris.
Callan? Chris?
Yep.
Chris? Thank you, Chris. I knew I was going to do it once. So, what's coming up? There'll be a training provider update and you'll receive information and an invitation to register soon. At this event, you'll hear more from your peers about how they've managed and adapted the challenges and opportunities presented by the current operating environment, and the activities supporting the VET Commissioning Tranche 1. You'll get more information about all of these as they come online soon. So, with all that said and done, I think I've covered off on everything. Yep. Thanks again. Thank you for joining us today. This will be put on the website and the YouTube page. You will receive an email with a survey and the slide package and some details and information shortly. Thanks again. We have an info line and a website for you to go to if you have further information. Enjoy your Friday and have a safe and great weekend.